Hello, Expo attendees. How are we doing at 1:30 on Sunday? You guys are like flat. You guys excited to be here? That's a little better. Cool. So we're going to get underway in like just a few seconds here. Like they're just at the back waiting. Just a few quick notes before we start. Please, 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 no flash photography during this. If you want to take pictures, that's super cool. Just nothing with a flash, as it can get kind of distracting. Also, there's going to be a lot of Q&A, and if you have a question, please raise your hand. One of the people in red shirts, the one I'm currently modeling for you, will be taking the mic to you. They'll ask a question. The moderator will go back and forth. And just before we get started, could I please get a big round of applause for everyone who is volunteering this weekend to make this thing run? We are great, but I'm the best, so that was for me. All right, our moderator for today is Jen Chang, and I'm going to bring her out, and she will get things underway. So please welcome Jen Chang.
Hey guys, how's it going? You guys excited? All right, my name is Jen Chang. I'm going to be your moderator this afternoon. Just a couple housekeeping things. Make sure you are welcome to take photos, but no flash photography, as it is very distracting. If we catch you taking flash photography, you will be out of here, so you're not going to want to miss this. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome today's guest, Adam Edge Copeland.
Is this thing on? There we go. Don't mind my Red Bull. All right.
Well, thank you for being here with us today.
Yeah, cool. Thanks for having me.
All right, well, I'm going to start this off kind of awkwardly and put you right on the spot here.
Awkward's always good, but I am wearing a shirt with a lumberjack punching a bear. It's already pretty awkward.
I don't know. We'll see how far we can take this. So I know when you first started out, when you were kind of unknown and you wanted to get a reaction from the crowd, you decided that the best thing to do would be to dance. And you described it as being very white. So I'm hoping that maybe you could show us and everybody here your white boy shuffle.
Well, it's actually it kind of endangers myself. It's so awkward and horribly praying mantis-like. So all I will say is it's a running man that I take up very high and take back very far. You wouldn't be able to do it in those. Otherwise, I'd say maybe you could pull it off.
Kick him off and maybe we could do it together.
There's no way I'm doing a running man today. No way that's happening. It got me a job, and that was the last time it was ever seen.
All right, so since the beginning of your career, you've had a lot of different characters, starting with Sexton Hardcastle and then to The Edge.
Actually, starting with a young fellow by the name of Adam Impact.
Sorry, Adam Impact. So Sexton Hardcastle.
Let's not forget old Adam Impact.
But you've gone through a lot of changes. Like when you first came out onto WWE, you're in the Brood, and you're kind of like the scary vampire and mysterious guy. And then when you guys became Edge and Christian, you're more goofy with your 5-second poses and the costumes. And then you eventually became this kind of villain-like. How much of the transition was kind of what you were going through personally in your life at that time, or was it all just kind of like WWE is like, this is what you're going to be now?
There was never like, this is what you're going to be. It would always kind of just morph. With the Brood, I don't think they really knew what to do with any of the three of us. So they thought, okay, well, we can do this kind of cool goth thing that was, that was big at that point. With Marilyn Manson and the Blade movies and all of that. So it kind of tapped into that, and then we had fun with it, and we thought it was really cool. And the entrance, and we'd kind of sway, and the Ring of Fire and all of that stuff. So we really always tried to tap into movies. So it was like, okay, well, we're the Lost Boys. That was kind of the idea of it. Then with Edge and Christian, we kind of took it as, okay, we're Bill and Ted. That's really, we're like, okay, we're Bill and Ted, so we got this, because this is how we are. And it really, what you saw with Edge and Christian is what we truly did growing up. I mean, we are morons. So it was, we just got to do what we did growing up, and then from there, you know, I think I just kind of did like rah rah sis boom ba babyface guy, and that was kind of boring. But I was able to have some good matches with a lot of talented guys, and then dip into the whole rated R thing, which was a lot of fun, you know. And by that point, I was a little, you know, frustrated with where I was on the card. So I did dip into some personal feelings where it was like, no, I deserve to be in the main event. So I'm gonna get there, and I'm gonna put it in the character, and you know, be pissed off.
Awesome. So you've done some pretty crazy stuff. Been thrown on thumbtacks through flaming tables and all that sort of thing. What was probably the most dangerous thing you did, and were you ever asked to do anything that you felt really uncomfortable with?
Anything that you saw me do that was stupidly dangerous was my idea. So, you know, if it was thumbtacks, it was like, no, Mick, they've seen you do it. I got to do it. I want to do a flaming table, Mick. Oh, yeah, you wear 3 shirts and I don't wear any. That probably wasn't a good idea, you know. But yeah, or, you know, Jeff Hardy is an insane mastermind, too. So we would all sit down and just come up with stupid, ridiculous ideas. But there was never anything where I was like, no, I can't do that. You know, because the WWE, to their credit, they would never ask someone to dive face first into a flaming table with thumbtacks still lodged in their back. You know, they're going to let that stupidity come from you. You know, they'll agree to it if you come up with it, but you know, they aren't going to say, okay, we need you to, you know, burn yourself tonight. It's not going to happen.
It's good to hear.
Yeah.
So the other day, we just talked about that, you retweeted me, and since then you've made me very popular on Twitter, and I've had people twittering me, messaging me, saying, can you tell Edge how much I love him? I want him to know who I am, and all sorts of crazy things. And at that moment, I realized how insanely loyal your fans are, even though you're not in the spotlight anymore. What are some of the most ridiculous things that people have done to meet you or be in your presence? Or
you know, it has calmed down since I retired, since I cut off the hair. It's like, okay, this is normal. Okay, cool. You know, but there's some strange stuff on Twitter, and it, you know, I held off getting a Twitter for so long, and then you know the Haven had said, you know, we'd really like you to get one, and Tommy Dreamer talked me into, you know, yeah, you should get one. I was like, right, fine, I'll give it a shot. And plus, too, I found out there was someone was claiming to be me collecting money for cancer research. I was like, oh, like, so what, how many different levels of hell are you going to, you know? So I thought, well, if I get one, that eliminates that. So, but then that opened the floodgates. It's just like, the one I always get is, do you remember, with a picture of me doing something that obviously I'm going to remember. I remember pushing Undertaker through 4 tables. I remember that. You don't have to send me a picture to remind me. And it was just yesterday, me and my buddy Jack should talk about it, because it was like, I just finished watching the Chris Farley sketch where he interviews Paul McCartney. Literally just watched it. And do you remember when? That was awesome. Do you remember the Beatles? They were awesome. Like that whole deal. And then I read a tweet, do you remember doing this? And it was just like, are you kidding me? So there's stuff like that. You get some repeat tweeters that like really weird stuff.
even
Like,
I've experienced that as a result of you retweeting me in
Yeah.
3 days. So
yeah, there's some like, there's some stuff where it's like, whoa, man, you're getting intense and scaring me right now.
But what are some lengths that somebody's actually gone through to actually like meet you and shake your hand? Even, or-
Everybody's pretty cool. Like if for appearances or whatever, you'll have people that have driven like 14 hours or something, which is like, wow. Well, be safe driving home. It's like, gosh, like what can you do to make that worthwhile for the person? Like you want to. Yeah, well, it's like, okay, do I name my firstborn after you? Like, because like you're gonna drive 28 hours now. Like that's crazy. Thank you. there's nothing I can do that seems to make that worthwhile.
Maybe a
but-
lock of your hair?
Oh, there's not much left, so I keep saying I'm going through my Chuck Norris phase. Gonna get a strong beard going here in a little bit if Haven doesn't shave it off. So.
Awesome. Well, speaking of crazy fans, I want to open it up to you guys. So do we have any questions? Right there. Zombie face.
First of all, we all respect you.
Thank you.
And would you be able to share your most embarrassing moment?
I don't know.
Please?
I've had quite a few. Gosh, standing in my underwear in front of like 13,000 people, like having a live sex celebration was might be up there. I've had quite a few people ask me, dude, were you excited? I was like, no. No, it was an ice hockey rink in February. There was nothing happening. It was trying to hide. It was going up into my, pelvic cavity. So I'm pretty sure that would be like the one where I was like, wow, we did that, huh? Okay.
Who came up with that awesome idea?
That actually was not my idea. That was, I had won the title for the first time in Albany, New York, was leaving the arena, and Bruce Pritchard, who was Brother Love, goes, yeah, so tomorrow we're gonna have a live sex celebration. I went, okay, Bruce, sure, I don't know what that is, but cool, awesome, I'm champ, so I don't really care, I was just happy. I wanted to bask in like the glow of that, so I didn't even think about it until I got there the next day, and it was Hershey, and they went, no, really, we're doing this, and I was like, well, what is it? Like, I don't understand. Like, well, what are you talking about? Like, we're not gonna have sex on TV, right? No, we're gonna try and get as close as we can. Okay. Gosh, what underwear did I bring? It's like, you don't prepare for that in the morning.
Sometimes people do, but. All right, next question. This dapper young gentleman right here.
I was just wondering, obviously you've had a very successful main event career, champion multiple times, and I was just wondering what your opinion was on why Christian hadn't achieved that yet, or he's not, he has achieved it, but not for a very sustained period of time, and what you think he could do in order to get there and stay there.
Obviously the talent's there. To me, he's the most deserving guy to be champion that hadn't been champion. And I think the reaction that he got the night he won the title showed that. I think a lot of times when the company doesn't perceive someone that way and they end up fighting through it anyway, it can almost be held against them in a way. But I don't know. Can't really put my finger on that, to be honest with you, because you got a guy who's tremendous on the microphone, can make Yoshitatsu look like Ricky Steamboat, it's like I don't know what it is, and that's one of those kind of it's one of those things. There's a few people from each generation that kind of whether it be Rick Rude or Mr. Perfect or guys that totally in any other era would have been world heavyweight champions. So I don't know if there's a rhyme or a reason or anything like that, but the fact that he got it, that to me was like awesome. That now he's done it all. He's literally done it all. Whether it was 2 days, whether it was 2 years, no one can take that away. So that for me was, if there was a positive, and you always try and look for the positives out of things, so, or at least I do, that to me was, okay, neck injury, got to retire, but man, he's getting to do it. That's awesome. So, yeah.
All right, over there in the blue shorts.
Yeah, it was kind of a
basically that there, but it was just two quick questions. One was, what was it like to be in that moment, celebrating, when Christian did win the championship after you won so many, and finally, somebody you've been spending basically 20 years with getting to the top. And aside from your first one, what would be your favorite championship run?
Well, it was great to be there, obviously, and no one really knows this, but I actually turned down doing a play with Hugh Jackman to be there, and we started rehearsals, and they needed me there because it was tight rehearsal time, and it was like there was something like, I don't know, like 2 weeks or something until the play started. So it was like, no, you have to be out here this night in San Francisco, and I was like, well, I got to be in Tampa because he's winning the title. So it was and if it wasn't going to be in Toronto, Tampa is the second best place for him because that's where he lives. That's so it was extremely special, to be there. It was just as cool, if not cooler, to see him do it as opposed to like, it was right up there with my first time doing it, I guess. Favorite title run, probably the whole thing with Undertaker. I think to me was, I always, whether it was because it was a spinner belt or whatever, I hated that title. It felt like I was, carrying around a cereal box. So for me, I really bit into the World Heavyweight Championship and the whole, like, the Ric Flair look of it and everything. So for me, to have that one and to do the program with Undertaker was probably, to culminate with, like, I don't know, 5 pay-per-view matches in a row, I think was probably my favorite.
We got one up in the red shirt there.
What was your favorite match you ever had?
Favorite? That's probably the question I get asked the most, and I can't narrow it down to one. I think.
Okay, your most memorable match then, the one you remember the first when you think.
Once again, it's tough, because like, you team with Hulk Hogan when he's your hero growing up, and that's really memorable. Winning the tag team titles with Christian the first time, memorable. First World Heavyweight Championship, memorable. First Intercontinental Championship in the Sky Dome when I didn't know it was going to happen, really memorable. Undertaker at WrestleMania. I mean, I can't narrow it down to just one. I think it'd be like, I always say it's like naming your favorite kid. You just don't. Even if you do have one, you don't do it. So so it's tough. Thankfully, I had a career full of stuff that I absolutely loved. So that's I guess how I look at it.
We've got one in the red jacket there.
One of the things I really like about wrestling are the entrance themes and the entrances.
Mm-hmm.
And I always thought what was unique about your character, you always had a really badass theme song, and you came in the ring really, I don't know, you were just really awesome coming to the ring. I was wondering what were some of your favorite entrance themes and entrances, past and present?
Yeah, of other people?
Yeah.
Gosh, there's been some good ones. I mean, Taker's is obviously, it sets a tone. It really does. Like the mood changes in that place whenever that gong happens and the smoke comes out. And Austin's, I mean, that glass breaking, it was like you being there for all of that and being on the card and kind of peeking through the curtain while that, just to see the insanity that just glass breaking caused, was really cool now to look back and say I'm glad I was there for that. And to grow up hearing Real American and sing along with it even though I'm Canadian and like and then to team with them and be standing in the ring as it's playing, I'm like, whoa, this was what I went to Maple Leaf Gardens and like sang along with, and now it's blaring over this, over the sound system when I'm in the ring about to team with them. Those are probably the 3 that jump out at me. When it comes to just cool music, I think I had cooler than anybody, but and that was by design because my initial stuff I didn't like. I thought it was really boring. So I was constantly trying to, you know, like, hey, what about this? What about this? What about this? And I was really hands-on with the music and like the design of my tights and designs of my trench coats and the designs of my T-shirts and everything. But the music, I loved the Brood music, and then to go back to my old music after that, I was like, man, I gotta get something, you know. And I knew Rob Zombie was putting out a new album at that point. I just shot in the dark. I was like, hey, could we get Rob Zombie? And they said, okay, well, we'll try, and then got it. I got an advanced copy of the disc, and they said, here's the 4 songs you can choose from. So I went, okay, Never Gonna Stop. That seems to fit. And then I went out to the Ozzy Osbourne and Zombie concert. I think it was Merry Mayhem tour or something. And so I'm backstage, and they wanted me to introduce Rob on stage. So I went up, just meeting him. He goes, oh, dude, I thought you were like forced to use my music. I was like, you kidding me? Like, no, I wanted this. And then from there, it became like a copyright thing on DVDs. Like if you watch our DVDs from that time frame, they have to take that music out, put in my old music, dub over the crowd, so it sounds like I get no crowd reaction whatsoever. So because of that, they said, well, we got to get some new music. I was coming back from the neck injury. While I was out with the first neck surgery, I was at a Metallica show and met the guys from Alter Bridge, and became buddies. Went back to Mark, the guitarist's house that night, and he goes, can I play our first album? And he played it without vocals and Metalingus. He played it. I was like, dude, can I use that? Because that is what I need to use. And they own it, so they're like, yeah, you know, they get the idea that, you know, if I was out there every week, it was going to be seen in 120 countries, so their music was going to get out there. And yeah, I get a little crazy when I talk about music, so that was a long-winded answer, sorry.
We've got another question over here in the black shirt.
You had a lot of matches between Undertaker and Kane. Who would you rather fight again if you had to?
They're both awesome. They really are. I mean, it's, oh gosh, that's a tough call, because I mean, they each do, they're big men, and I don't think people understand how big they are until you're standing beside them. Like, Kane came to my place a few months ago, and I hadn't seen him in a while, and we're standing out in my backyard, and I was like, dude, you are massive. Like, I forgot how friggin' big you are. Like, because in the everyday world, I'm a fairly large man, you know, 6'4", about 230, 240 or whatever, and then you stand beside him, and he's like 6'9", 300 pounds, and it's just like, how did we wrestle? Like, how did you not kill me? Like, yeah, so it's the fact that they can do the stuff they do. It would be a disservice to say I would prefer one over the other, because they're both, to me, two of the best big men ever in the industry. And I'm just, I got in there with both of them and had long, you know, feuds with both of them. So it's a tough call.
All right, we've got a question from the lady in red in front.
That's a
Hello.
Krista Berg song, isn't it?
I'll be with you right after. Nice.
Yeah.
I just wanted to know, in like your most down or hardest moment, what inspired you to keep going, or like what did you turn to or channel just for that energy?
Gosh, you know, I don't know. I guess, you know, the first neck surgery, because that was my first real injury. That was, initially it was demoralizing, because, you know, at that point I was 29 years old, and I was, you know, 12 cylinders. You know, I was just like, go, 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 and all of a sudden it was like, there's no going. I'm in a neck collar. I'm wasting away day by day, and I can see it, you know. So I thought, oh, I'll go to the gym. And I went to the gym, and I got like on this hammer strength machine where you load plates on. And with no plates on, I was like struggling and shaking. And I went, I gotta get out of here. I gotta go home. Because it would like, that was one moment where I was like, this is gonna be tough to get back from. But thankfully I had guys, I had you know, Chris Benoit, and I had Rhino, and a lot of guys who had been through it. So I was like, hey, is this normal? Okay, is that, you know, and they really, you know, kind of turning to them and asking their advice helped a lot.
Got a question from the guy in the red and the black jacket there?
After your departure, after WrestleMania there, when you came out Monday Night Raw and announced that you were done, I'm pretty much going to guarantee I speak for everyone in the room. It was really hard to watch that. It was very difficult being an Edge fan for as long as I've been to see you all of a sudden leave just like that. My question to you is do you like the way it's gone since then in the WWE, and do you think there's going to be a future for some of these young guys that are coming up?
Well, I mean, thank you, by the way. I think what was hard about it is because it was so sudden. I think that's what made it hard for the audience to kind of like, well, wait a minute, he's the World Heavyweight Champion right now. Like, he just wrestled. What do you mean that's it? So I think a lot of people just assumed it was a wrinkle in a storyline, you know, until Alberto's music didn't hit. You know, it was like, oh wait, this is real. Crap. You know. So, but beyond that, I mean, there's always going to be a future for people. There's always going to be a wrestling industry. It's too ingrained in the fabric of, you know, kind of pop culture that it's like it's always going to be there in some form, you know. And I think the successes of WrestleMania has proved that. I haven't honestly watched in a while. So I truly don't know what's going on. I don't know. I keep getting asked, do you like The Shield? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. I think Captain America, you know. Yeah, and I think that kind of, I think wrestling fans get angry at that, but it's not anything personal against the industry. It's just, I don't watch much TV. So and for me, I think what I really enjoyed, and even my last few years in the industry, I didn't really watch it. You know, I did my matches, and that was kind of, I went, I busted my butt in the ring, and then I left it because I knew I was getting closer to retirement, and I had to start pulling away from it because I didn't want to be 50 years old and pining for one more match. I didn't want to be that guy. So I made a conscious decision to start kind of, not that I didn't care, but I had to start mentally and emotionally putting a distance between me and also what was important, and that's real life. You know, jumping around in tights is cool, but it's not real life. So I think by doing that, when the retirement was thrown in my lap, it made it a whole lot easier to deal with. And it just, since then, it's become more and more of a separation from it. Still love the aspect of its superheroes come to life, but I can't do it anymore, you know. So it's I just needed to kind of pull away from it a bit. Right. So I don't know if I answered your question, but
the guy in the blue shirt.
Yeah, we talked earlier,
Yes.
but I just had another question that I thought of like 10 seconds after I left, as it always is.
that's always the way it works.
And it's kind of a two-parter question. You know how the rumor mills work, how everybody hears what's going on backstage and whatnot. I remember right after you retired, there were a lot of people saying that you always wanted your last match to be against Christian in Toronto. Sort of the first part is, was that true? I mean, it seems logical that it would be. And the second part would be, if you could do that match, ideally the way you'd like to do it, which one of you would be the good guy and which would be the bad guy?
That's a good question. Perfect world, yeah, I would love for my last match to be against him. You know, and once again, perfect world, WrestleMania in Toronto. But I also know that's probably not, it's not going to be in Toronto for a while. So as even before I knew I had to retire, as I was like mapping out the next few years, I was like, okay, I got a year left of my contract, so maybe WrestleMania, I guess it would have been 28, maybe that'll be it, or maybe I'll just take a break, kind of recharge the batteries, lick my wounds a little bit, come back for one more year, you know, work some young guys, try and help, and then maybe end it off with Christian. But you can never map it out, obviously, because, you know, then 2 weeks later I'm retiring. So honestly, I think if if there was like a good guy, bad guy thing, I don't know. It'd just be cool to let us go in and wrestle, and let the people go. Okay, those are two guys that have an entire career history together. There doesn't need to be a good guy or a bad guy. Just let them go. You know, with Sean and Brett at their Iron Man match, there wasn't a heel, there wasn't a baby face. It was just two guys going in and wrestling. You know, so I think that would be probably the way to do it if I could book it.
We've got one over here in the red shirt.
Yes, Mr. Copeland.
Yes.
How did you feel about dying on Sanctuary?
I didn't know I did, honestly.
You did.
Because I was still with WWE when we shot that, and it was like I was there for one day. It was my birthday. That's why I remember. I was like one day of shooting. I knew it was one episode, and then I was off to the next tour. So I had no idea what the character Philo, I think his name was. I had no idea what happened to him, what was going to happen to him, and nothing like that. I just knew I was going to wear contact lenses and look like a caveman for a day. Which isn't that far off. It was just contact lenses made it different.
We got one in the back there.
Oh, firstly, I'm a big fan. WrestleMania, Undertaker 21-0 with the streak. Do you think anyone's going to be out there to beat him?
Well, I think it's entertainment, so if Vince wants someone to beat him, they will. But I wouldn't. If I was, the owner of the company, I think that to me, it's at WrestleMania, it's more important than the championship matches. To me, it is, the streak is the main event. So I personally wouldn't. Why would you? And to me, there's honestly nobody deserving of it. I truly believe that. It's like he deserves to retire with that streak. At WrestleMania 24, they had talked to me about ending it, and I was like, "There's no way this can't happen." Like, if you want my opinion, no. He was cool with it, which to me I was like, "Okay, well, there's my tip of the hat. I'm good with that." And then obviously we didn't go that way. So, and I'm glad we didn't because if he could get to 30-0, but. I have a feeling he'll probably try for 25-0 now.
We've got another question right here in the black jacket.
Hello.
Hello.
Just testing it. I'm under the understanding that it's usually the heel that calls and dictates the matches. Question is, was there any big names when you first got to call your match, like throughout the match, that you got nervous with? And what was it like calling your first main event?
Kind of a misconception now too. It's not really the case anymore. Back when I first started, that was the case. But by the time I got to WWF, that wasn't really the case. It was just, you kind of it's one of those things where there's no real set. Okay, the heel calls everything. Those days are kind of gone. I always like to really have like a hands-on with all of that, but as you flow with the match, somebody could have a great idea, and you just, oh yeah, cool, let's go. There was nobody I really, I can't think of that I ever got nervous, calling a match with or anything like that. It was always very, it's a huge compliment though when, Ric Flair would say, I just, whatever you want to do, cool, all right, let's go. Or Taker or Shawn Michaels, like those guys trust you enough to just like do it out there. Cool, let's go. And that's how it usually works best. Is you just kind of get because New Mexico is going to react completely different than Toronto. So you can't just go out and paint by numbers it. You have to. You got to be able to adapt and kind of go with the flow a little bit. So.
All right. Got another one in the front row here.
When you were coming up, it seemed like they used the tag team division to get guys like you and Christian and the Hardys get a good push, and now it seems like they use the tag team division to throw guys they don't know what to do with. Why do you think that? Brett in his panel yesterday mentioned, he says Vince doesn't like tag teams. I was just wondering if you had opinion on that.
I don't know if he does or doesn't. I never had that conversation with him, you know. But I think, you know, with the Hardys and myself and Christian, I don't think they knew what to do with us, but they knew that they had two good teams, and put them together, and they're probably going to do some pretty, you know, stupid stuff together. So, but I could see how it's like, okay, don't know what to do with these young guys. They can have good matches together, and you know, let them work their way and get experience to where they're at the levels of, you know, Austin and Brett and those guys, and learn to adapt the style to work the top level, because it is a different style. You know, if I had tried to do the same things that I did with the Hardys with Batista, obviously it's not going to work. You know? So you have to learn to adapt. It's like I can big boot Batista, but if I try and hit him with a spin kick off the top rope, it's like, you know. Yeah. So I love tag team wrestling, so I think it's kind of a lost art. It seems now if it's used with, you know, kind of 4 big names, and it's like, okay, well, if we can get all these big names on the main event of Raw, great. Which is a shame, because it can be really, really, you know, well done. I mean, think of all the teams like the Hart Foundation or the Midnight Express or the Rockers and the Brainbusters. Is like they gave me some of my favorite memories in wrestling, you know, the matches that they were involved in. So it's tough, you know, for whoever the tag champs are now. Who are the tag champs? Okay, all right, yeah, but thank you. But yeah, I think they kind of have let them do some stuff, right? So, but yeah, I don't know what to tell you there.
All right, I think we've got time for one more. The lady in the blue hoodie there.
You're like, in our family, you're like our biggest idol and fan ever. I'm actually about to leave. I was wondering if I can get a photo with you before I leave.
Sure, come on up.
Really?
I think maybe we'll have time for one more then. Right in the middle here.
Hi there.
Hi.
My son Jacob is the wrestling fan. He's a little bit shy.
We met yesterday, didn't we?
Yeah. He was just wondering, what are your plans for the future if you're not going to be wrestling anymore? What are you thinking of doing coming up?
Well, gosh, I've been retired for 2 years, so I'm already doing it. You know, I actually got it was like 2 days after I retired, I got a call to do this show called Haven, and I'm heading into my 3rd season on it. You know, so it started off, I think it was a very collapsible character because, you know, no one on the show knew what to expect. I didn't know what to expect. You know, I'd done a WWE movie and a couple of things here and there, but I'd never really had a recurring long character, so I didn't know, you know, how to see an arc through or anything like that. So I think it was a very you know, there's troubles on the show. You end up having troubles, which is kind of like an affliction. Well, mine is I attract bullets. So so I was like, this guy's not going to be around for long. Or at least he's written to maybe, you know, in case I really crap the bed here, they're going to get rid of me. So I found out after the fact, like halfway through my first scene, they were like, whoa, let's write some more scenes for him. So then it became, do you want to do more episodes? Then it became more episodes the next season. And now we start again next week. And that takes up May to October. So there's 5 months of my year right there. And then this year I got neck surgery in November, so I really just spent time recuperating from that, getting ready for Haven and doing some appearances here and there. So I always get busted on at home, you know, like, you're not retired, you're the most unretired retired guy I know. And it's okay, well, but I tried the whole stopping completely after the first season of Haven, and by like 6 months in, I was like, okay, I got to do something. I gotta like get the creative juices, you know, out still. So it's been good for that. It's been an outlet to still, you know, create. Picture.
So I think that's
can do
it
more
for
questions,
today.
can't we? Can we do more? This is fun.
I don't know. Are we allowed to do more? I think we have the next panel coming up. So, yeah. All right. Well, thank you all for coming out, and thank you for Adam Copeland.